My son's wife didn't know I'd been learning Korean for the past 8 months. When I overheard what she said about me to his business clients at that dinner, I realized my late husband had been right about her all along. I just wish I'd listened sooner. I'm Margaret Chen. I'm 64 years old, and until recently, I thought I'd figured out how to navigate the complicated waters of being a widow, a mother, and a grandmother. My husband Paul died 4 years ago from a sudden heart attack. He was only 62. We'd been married for 40 years, and I thought I'd spend the rest of my life grieving quietly in the house we'd shared in Naperville, just outside Chicago. But grief is a strange thing. It doesn't actually kill you, even when you wish it would. Eventually, you have to figure out how to keep living. I worked as a high school English teacher for 35 years before retiring 3 years ago. Paul and I had planned to travel: Italy, Greece, Japan. All the places we'd put off while raising our son Daniel and building our careers. The trips never happened. I have a folder full of unused plane tickets and hotel reservations, printed out and tucked away in my desk drawer. Sometimes I take them out and read them, imagining what might have been. After Paul died, I threw myself into being useful. I helped Daniel and his wife Lisa with their 2 kids, Emily, who's 12, and Jack, who's 9. I picked them up from school twice a week. I made dinners. I attended every soccer game, piano recital, and school play. I thought I was being helpful. I thought they needed me. Lisa never said otherwise. She smiled and thanked me. She let me babysit. She invited me to family dinners. But there was something in her eyes sometimes, a flash of irritation quickly masked. I told myself I was imagining it. Paul used to say I was too sensitive, that I read too much into things. But Paul had also said, right before we met Lisa for the first time 10 years ago, "She's not warm, Maggie. Watch yourself with this one." I'd brushed him off. "You're being overprotective of Daniel." "Maybe," he'd said. "But I've met a lot of people in my life, and I can usually tell within 5 minutes if someone has kindness in them. She doesn't." I'd thought he was wrong. I'd tried so hard to build a relationship with Lisa, but after Paul died, things shifted. Small comments here and there. "Oh, you're here again?" when I'd show up for dinner. "The kids don't really need a babysitter anymore, Margaret." Calls that went unreturned. Invitations that became less frequent. Daniel seemed oblivious. He traveled constantly for work. He'd started his own tech consulting firm 5 years ago, and it had taken off beyond anyone's expectations. He was always flying to San Francisco, New York, Seoul, especially Seoul. He'd been working on a major deal with a Korean tech company for almost a year. That's actually how I started learning Korean. It began with Emily. My granddaughter became obsessed with K-dramas last year. She'd watch them for hours, these romantic, dramatic shows from South Korea. She'd try to teach me Korean words. Saranghae means, "I love you, Grandma." Annyeong means hello. I humored her at first. But then one Saturday afternoon, I was at the library, the place where I'd spent so much of my career, and I saw they were offering a beginning Korean class. The instructor was a woman about my age named Susan, who'd married a Korean man 40 years ago and raised their kids bilingual. "It's never too late to learn something new," Susan said during the first class. "Learning a language keeps your mind sharp. Plus, it's a gift. You see the world differently when you can understand another culture's language." I thought about Paul, about all those trips we'd never taken, about how he'd always wanted to learn Italian but never made the time. Life is so short. I signed up for the full 8-week course. Then I kept going. I downloaded Duolingo. I watched K-dramas with Emily, actually trying to pick up phrases instead of just reading the subtitles. I found a conversation partner online, a kind woman in Seoul who wanted to practice her English. We'd video chat twice a week. She'd teach me about Korean culture, the importance of respect for elders, the complex hierarchy in relationships and business. In Korea, she told me once, we have a saying, "A family with an old person has a jewel." Elders are treasured for their wisdom and experience. I found that beautiful. And ironic, given how invisible I'd started to feel in my own family. I didn't tell anyone about the Korean lessons. It felt private, like something just for me. Emily knew I was watching K-dramas with her, but she didn't know I was actually studying seriously. Daniel was too busy to notice. And Lisa? Well, Lisa barely spoke to me unless she needed something. which is why I was surprised when Lisa called me 3 weeks ago. "Margaret, I need a favor," she said without preamble. "Daniel's having a big business dinner next Friday. The Korean executives are flying in from Seoul to finalize the contract. It's a huge deal, worth millions. We're taking them to Bansang, you know, that expensive Korean restaurant downtown." "That's wonderful," I said carefully. "Congratulations to Daniel. The thing is," Lisa continued, "we need to make a good impression. Family is very important in Korean culture, and Mr. Kim, the CEO, specifically asked if Daniel's parents would be there. Obviously, Paul is gone. But I told them you'd come." My heart lifted slightly. An invitation. A chance to be included. "I'd love to come." "Great. Just, dress nicely." "And, Margaret?" Her voice took on that tone, the one that made my spine stiffen. "Maybe just smile and be pleasant? Don't talk too much about teaching or books or whatever. These are business people. Try not to bore them." I felt the familiar sting but pushed it down. "Of course." "Perfect. We'll pick you up at 6. That was it. No warmth, no thank you, just instructions on how to behave so I wouldn't embarrass her. The week crawled by. I debated what to wear. I settled on a simple navy dress, pearls, low heels, professional but not flashy. I didn't want to give Lisa any reason to criticize. Friday evening, Daniel picked me up. He gave me a quick hug. "Thanks for coming, Mom. This deal is really important." "I know, honey. I'm happy to be there." Lisa sat in the front seat, scrolling through her phone. She glanced back at me. "You look nice." "Margaret, thank you." The drive downtown was quiet. Daniel talked about the contract, the expansion opportunities, how this could take his company to the next level. Lisa occasionally interjected with comments about the restaurant, the wine list, how impressed the Koreans would be. I sat in the back and watched the city lights blur past, wondering why I felt more like a prop than a person. Bansang was elegant. Modern Korean decor, soft lighting, private dining rooms. We were led to a room where 3 Korean executives were already seated. They stood immediately when we entered. Mr. Kim was probably in his late 50s, distinguished in a dark suit. He bowed slightly. "Mr. Reeves, Mrs. Reeves, wonderful to see you again." "Mr. Kim, this is my mother, Margaret Chen," Daniel said, gesturing to me. Mr. Kim's face lit up. He bowed deeper to me than he had to Daniel or Lisa. "Mrs. Chen, it is such an honor to meet you. Daniel has spoken of you. Please, accept my condolences for your husband's passing." His English was good but accented. His respect seemed genuine. I bowed back, suddenly grateful for all those hours of K-dramas where I'd watched the proper etiquette. "Thank you, Mr. Kim. It's an honor to meet you as well." The other 2 executives were introduced. Mr. Park, the CFO, younger, maybe early 40s, and Mrs. Yoon, the Director of International Relations, an elegant woman probably close to my age. We sat down. Daniel and Mr. Kim immediately launched into business talk. Lisa played the perfect hostess, smiling, nodding, asking polite questions. I sat quietly, as instructed. The food arrived in waves. Banchan, the small side dishes, Korean barbecue, stews. Everything was delicious. Mr. Kim insisted on explaining each dish, making sure I tried everything. "Mrs. Chen, you must try the kimchi jjigae. It's the restaurant's specialty." "Thank you, it's wonderful." About an hour in, after the business talk had settled and the wine had been flowing, I noticed Mr. Kim and Mrs. Yoon starting to speak in Korean to each other. Just small comments, laughing about something. Mr. Park joined in occasionally. Lisa suddenly leaned forward. "I'm sorry, I should have mentioned. I speak Korean. I minored in it at Northwestern. I thought it might be helpful for business." This was news to me. And apparently to Daniel, who looked surprised. "You never told me that." Lisa waved her hand. "It never came up, but yes, I'm conversational." Mr. Kim looked delighted. "Mrs. Reeves, this is wonderful. Please, then we can speak more comfortably." And just like that, portions of the conversation shifted to Korean. Lisa translated occasionally for Daniel, summarizing what was being said. The Korean seemed more relaxed, more animated. I sat there, picking at my food, feeling increasingly like furniture. At one point, Daniel turned to me. You doing okay, Mom? I'm fine, sweetheart. Lisa shot me a look. Margaret, would you like more tea? No, thank you. The conversation continued swirling around me. Then I heard Lisa say something in Korean, and all three executives looked at her with surprise. Mrs. Yoon responded, and they all laughed. My Korean wasn't perfect, but it was good enough. I understood every word. Lisa had said, The old woman doesn't understand anything we're saying. We can speak freely. Mrs. Yoon had responded, Are you certain? That seems disrespectful. Lisa had laughed. Trust me, she barely understands English sometimes. She's nearly senile. My blood went cold. I kept my face neutral, my hands steady on my teacup. Years of teaching difficult teenagers had taught me how to control my reactions. Mr. Kim frowned slightly but said nothing. Mr. Park looked uncomfortable. Mrs. Yoon's expression was unreadable. Lisa continued in Korean, emboldened by their lack of pushback. Honestly, she's become such a burden, always showing up unannounced, wanting to babysit, hovering over the children. Daniel's too soft-hearted to tell her to back off. Daniel, oblivious, was checking his phone. After this deal closes, Lisa went on in Korean, we're going to have enough money to finally do something about her. There's a very nice assisted living facility in Aurora. I've already toured it. We'll tell her it's for her own good, that we're worried about her being alone. She'll resist, of course, but she has no choice. Daniel will agree with me eventually. He always does. Mrs. Yoon set down her chopsticks. In Korean, she said quietly, This is not appropriate dinner conversation. Lisa misread the room. She switched back to English. I'm sorry. Were we being rude? Margaret doesn't mind. Do you, Margaret? All eyes turned to me. I smiled pleasantly. Not at all. Lisa smiled back, satisfied. Then she turned to Mr. Kim and said in Korean, See? I told you. She has no idea. Anyway, the assisted living place is really nice. It's not like we're abandoning her. We'll visit on holidays. Mr. Park actually flinched. Mr. Kim's expression had gone from warm to glacial. In Korean, he said, Mrs. Reeves, I think perhaps we should return to discussing business. But Lisa was on a roll, maybe emboldened by wine, maybe just finally saying what she'd been thinking for years. In Korean, she said, Oh, we have time. I just wanted you to understand that Daniel is very devoted to his work. His mother won't be a distraction anymore. We're taking care of it. That's when Mrs. Yoon spoke directly to me. In perfect English, she said, Mrs. Chen, do you understand Korean? The room went silent. I set down my teacup carefully. I'd been holding this secret for 8 months. This small, private thing I'd been learning for myself, for Emily, for the memory of Paul who'd wanted us to keep exploring the world even after he was gone. But some secrets are meant to be revealed at exactly the right moment. I looked directly at Mrs. Yoon and responded in Korean. Yes, I do. Not perfectly, but well enough to understand that my daughter-in-law has been discussing putting me in a nursing home without my knowledge. Lisa's face drained of all color. Daniel's head snapped up. What? I continued in Korean, addressing Mr. Kim. I apologize for the deception. I've been learning Korean for the past 8 months. My granddaughter loves K-dramas, and I wanted to understand them better. I didn't intend to eavesdrop on a private conversation. Mr. Kim's face transformed. In Korean, he responded, Mrs. Chen, the deception is not yours. You honor us by learning our language. Lisa found her voice. Margaret, I didn't mean... I switched to English. You were just what, Lisa? Planning my future without consulting me? Calling me senile? Telling these kind people that I'm a burden that needs to be disposed of? Mom, what's going on? Daniel looked between us, confused and alarmed. Mrs. Yoon spoke up. Mr. Reeves, your wife has been telling us, in Korean, that she plans to place your mother in assisted living without her consent. She called Mrs. Chen senile and a burden. She said you would agree to whatever she decided. Daniel's face went from confused to horrified. She what? Daniel, that's not what I meant, Lisa started. I understood every word, I said quietly. In Korean, the language I've been studying for 8 months while you and Daniel were too busy to notice. The language your wife assumed I was too old and stupid to learn. Mr. Kim stood up. In English, he said, Mr. Reeves, in Korean culture, the way a person treats their elders reveals their character. Respect for one's parents and grandparents is fundamental. What I have witnessed tonight is deeply troubling. Mr. Kim, please, Lisa pleaded. It was a misunderstanding. There is no misunderstanding, Mrs. Yoon said coldly. We understood you perfectly, and so did Mrs. Chen. Mr. Park added, in Korea, we say that a family with an old person has a living treasure. Your wife treats a treasure like trash. Daniel had gone white. He looked at Lisa. Is this true? Were you really planning to put my mother in a home? Lisa's mask cracked. Daniel, you're never here. You don't see how much she interferes. Interferes? My voice came out stronger than I expected. I help with your children. I respect your boundaries. I wait to be invited. And you repay me by planning to warehouse me in assisted living while telling these people I'm senile? You're always hovering. I'm being a grandmother. I'm being a mother. I lost my husband, Lisa. My children and grandchildren are all I have left. And you've been treating me like an inconvenience while smiling to my face. Daniel stood up. We're leaving. Mr. Kim, I'm sorry. Mr. Kim held up his hand. Mr. Reeves, please sit. Mrs. Chen, please stay. Everyone sat slowly. The tension was suffocating. Mr. Kim spoke carefully. Mr. Reeves, you are a talented businessman. Your company has great potential, but in Korea, we believe business is built on trust and character. What your wife has demonstrated tonight is a lack of both. Mr. Kim, I had no idea. That is also troubling, Mr. Kim said. A man should know what is happening in his own family. Mrs. Chen has been learning Korean for 8 months, and you did not notice. Your wife has been planning to remove your mother from your lives, and you did not notice. What else do you not notice? The words hung in the air like a judgment. Mrs. Yoon turned to me. In Korean, she said, Mrs. Chen, how long did it take you to reach this level? 8 months of study, I replied in Korean. Classes, apps, conversation practice. I wanted to connect with my granddaughter who loves K-dramas. And I wanted to prove to myself that I'm not too old to learn new things. Missus? Yoon smiled. Your pronunciation is quite good. Have you visited Korea? Not yet. My late husband and I had planned to travel, but he passed away before we could. I am sorry for your loss, she said gently, still in Korean. You honor his memory by continuing to learn and grow. Thank you. Mr. Kim addressed the table. I will be honest. This deal is very important to my company, but it is more important that we work with people of integrity. Mr. Reeves, I must take time to reconsider. Daniel's face crumbled. Please, this is my wife's fault, not mine. Is it? Mr. Kim asked. She is your wife. You chose her. You are responsible for your household. These are your values, reflected. Lisa stood abruptly. This is ridiculous. Over some old woman's feelings? The temperature in the room dropped 20 degrees. Mrs. Yoon stood slowly. Mrs. Reeves, I am only a few years younger than Mrs. Chen. Am I also some old woman? Is my opinion worthless? Should my family discard me when I become inconvenient? Lisa realized her mistake too late. That's not what I meant. Leave, Mr. Kim said quietly. Please leave now. Mr. Kim Daniel tried. Take your wife and leave. I will call you next week with my decision. Mrs. Chen, please stay. I would like to continue our conversation. Daniel looked at me helplessly. I'd never seen my son look so lost. Mom, I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. I know, honey. Go. We'll talk later. Lisa grabbed her purse and stormed out. Daniel followed, his shoulders slumped in defeat. The door closed behind them. Silence filled the room for a long moment. Then Mr. Kim started laughing. Not cruel laughter, but genuine amusement. Mrs. Chen, you are remarkable. 8 months? I felt myself relax slightly. 8 months. Your teacher must be very good. Susan Park. She teaches at the Naperville Library. Ah, Susan. I know her husband. Small world. Mr. Kim poured me more wine. Please, tell me about your late husband, and your granddaughter who loves K-dramas. We talked for another hour, just the 4 of us, sometimes in English, sometimes in Korean, me stumbling through phrases and them patiently helping me. They told me about their families, their children and grandchildren. Mrs. Yoon showed me photos of her granddaughter in Seoul who was Emily's age. Mr. Park talked about learning English late in life and how humbling it was. It felt like sitting with old friends. Finally, Mr. Kim said, "Mrs. Chen, I would like to make you an offer. My company is opening a small cultural exchange program. We want to help American seniors learn about Korean culture and vice versa. Would you be interested in being one of our first participants? It would include a 2-week trip to Seoul, all expenses paid. You would stay with a host family, attend language classes, experience Korean culture." I stared at him. "Mr. Kim, that's incredibly generous, but why?" "Because you represent something rare," he said. "Curiosity, humility, willingness to learn. These are the values we want to promote. And honestly, after tonight, I think you deserve a vacation." I felt tears prick my eyes. I don't know what to say. "Say yes," Mrs. Yoon said warmly. "And perhaps your granddaughter could join you? We have a youth program as well. Emily would lose her mind," I said, laughing through tears. "Then it's settled." Mr. Kim raised his glass. "To new beginnings and old wisdom." We toasted. I felt something shift inside me, like a door opening that I'd thought was locked forever. Daniel called me 15 times that night. I finally answered around midnight. "Mom, I'm so sorry." "I know, sweetheart. I had no idea she felt that way about you. I had no idea she was planning. I would never." "Daniel, take a breath. I've asked her to stay at a hotel tonight. We need to talk. I don't know what this is." "It's clarity," I said gently. "Sometimes we need to hear the truth, even when it hurts." Mr. Kim called. "The deal's off. He said he can't work with me after tonight." "Mom, I'm losing everything." "No, you're not. You're losing a business deal. You still have your children. You still have me. You still have your integrity, if you choose to keep it." He was quiet for a long moment. "Did you really learn Korean just for Emily?" "I learned it for me, too. And maybe a little bit for your father. We were supposed to travel together, remember? See the world? I'm just doing it without him now." "You're amazing." "I'm just a woman who refuses to be invisible." He laughed, a broken sound. "I'm sorry I let you become invisible. Then don't let it happen again." 3 weeks later, Emily and I were on a plane to Seoul. Daniel had finalized his separation from Lisa. He'd moved into a condo closer to me, so I could help with the kids more. Not because I was obligated, but because I wanted to. Because I was wanted. The divorce proceedings were messy. Lisa fought for everything, but Daniel fought harder, especially for custody. The kids were old enough to have opinions about where they wanted to live. Mr. Kim's company eventually signed a modified deal with Daniel after he demonstrated real changes, took a course in cultural sensitivity, brought his kids to meet Mr. Kim's grandchildren, learned some Korean himself. But that came later. Right now, I was sitting on a plane next to my granddaughter, who was practically vibrating with excitement. "Grandma, I can't believe we're going to Korea. This is the best thing ever." "It really is," I agreed. "And you can actually speak Korean now." "That's so cool. Can you teach me more?" "We'll learn together." She leaned her head on my shoulder. "I'm glad you didn't let them send you away." So Daniel had told her. "Emily, I'm not going anywhere." "Good. Because you're the best grandmother ever." I kissed the top of her head and looked out the window as we climbed through the clouds. Paul had always said life was short, that we should take chances, learn new things, not wait for permission to live fully. I'd forgotten that for a while. I'd let myself become small, manageable, invisible. Never again. If you're listening to this, and you feel invisible in your own life, if your opinions don't matter, if your presence is merely tolerated rather than celebrated, I want you to know something. You are not too old. You are not too late. You are not a burden. You are someone with value, with wisdom, with the capacity to still surprise the people who think they have you figured out. Learn something new. Not for anyone else. For you. Stand up for yourself. Use your voice. Don't let anyone